by Canada. The USA, and he's lost control of the boat.
Oh, the Americans put it down!
Unfortunately, there, the pressure of the situation showing.
Well, this is really disappointing. This has got to be so frustrating for the Americans.
We've got no excuses. You know, we got what we deserved. We struggled, and we were just battling it out at the back.
Meanwhile, USA's neighbors to the north, Canada, are turning some heads here on Lake Michigan. And it's Canada that does the double.
Yeah, buddy. Stand by. Zero, go, go, go. One, lock. Go wing. Slowly coming away. Turn. Here we go. Stand by wheel. You guys all right? Very well sound, everyone.
Welcome to day 2 of the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. It's Championship Sunday and a special Father's Day edition as the world's best sailors are making final preparations for today's racing on Lake Michigan. The weather is perfect for the large crowds that continue to make their way to the waterfront. Alongside Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Day 1 was full of growing pains as each team adjusted to the intricacies of sailing on fresh water. But after 3 races, the dominant teams were hard to miss as they continued to put pressure on those who couldn't seem to find their pace. Welcome to the Windy City and the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier and Chicago's Skyline Stadium.
All eyes were on the local favourites USA, led by Jimmy Spittle, but leading into race 1, it was the Kiwis that timed it perfectly at the start.
Clear start, great start New Zealand, great start Great Britain. It's going to be a sprint now to Mark 1.
Pete Burling and his crew dominated race 1, applying the pressure to the rest of the fleet. In race 2, all of the action was happening between USA and France.
Oh, look at the Americans! Oh, no right to turn there. They're in. That's a foul, surely by USA.
Nikolai Sehested and New Zealand nearly collided towards the finish, but the story of the race was Phil Robertson once again leading the Canadians to victory in Season 3.
Yeah, buddy.
For the final race on day 1, Ben Ainsley was matching Canada turn for turn.
I think we just match Ben here, guys. All right. Go.
Canada still out in front. 2 races in a row and 2 very fast races. Top speed, 83 kilometers an hour.
Robertson showed his composure and dominated from start to finish.
It'll be Canada, race number 3, as they make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, buddy. Coming down.
After 3 races on day 1, the Canadians in their rookie season of SailGP have the lead after winning 2 of the 3 races. They have a 1-point lead over the British team, and New Zealand currently sits in 3rd with 23 points. Now here's where it gets tricky. The 2-time defending champions Australia and winners of the first event in Bermuda sit in 4th with 21 points. Then it's Denmark, Spain, and the other new team, Switzerland, in 7th. France sits in 8th, and the host nation, USA SailGP, have got to be devastated to be holding down dead last with only a slimmer of a chance of making the grand final. All right, Stevie, let's talk about the team that did it right on day number 1, and that has got to be Canada SailGP.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Canadian team, what a performance. We thought maybe it was a one-horse wonder in Bermuda, but they've come out of the blocks here again and showed us it was no fluke. It was clinically executed. Phil's built a lot of teams. He's hired well. Chris Draper, a wing trimmer, on board there. He was off the 2nd-place Japanese team from Season 2. But, yeah, he's really gelling this team nicely.
As we go under 10 minutes to go before the start of race number 4 on day number 2, how do you attribute Phil's knowledge not only on Lake Michigan, but what he did in Bermuda to get himself into the grand final, and how quickly the learning curve has been for him?
Well, we don't get an awful lot of backstage passes, but what I have been able to do overnight, Todd, is go on board and listen to the comms, and I think it's Georgia Lewin La France. I think what this Canadian team have actually done is they've taken the 6 athletes on the boat and thought, how can we utilise everyone? And when you listen in on board and you hear Georgia's input, Georgia's comms with Phil, tactically, they're just not making mistakes. They're not losing the silly points. And they've said, right, we've got 6 athletes. Let's get the most out of everyone. And Phil's, done a brilliant job of that. But let's not forget Billy Gooderham, the big grinders on the boat. They've all stepped up and they're all loving it.
And all skippers have said across the board that you go out there and you keep it simple as best you can, and good things will certainly follow, as we are now under 9 minutes to go before we start the racing here on Championship Sunday. And we've got the opportunity now to speak with Phil Robertson on board Canada's SailGP.
Hey Phil, it's Stevie here now. Come on, we're out here on Sunday, but what was yesterday's magic ingredient out there?
Maple syrup, mate. We rub it along the bottom of the boat and she's pretty nice and slippery when it's flying through the air. So hopefully it does the same thing when it's in the water today.
Okay, well that certainly sounds like quite a novel approach to things, Phil. That is definitely... But racing yesterday, you told us you had a great team talk. We had that funny start line set up. What's the team talk been today? What are we going to see from you to give that same sort of success again?
Yeah. Sorry, Stevie, I didn't quite get your question. We've just got a lot of chat going over the airways here, but the approach today is to be aggressive, to attack it, and see what we can do when it comes to race time. But yeah, we're not going to hold back. We've got a lead on the leaderboard. It means nothing. It's a full reset today.
Well, good luck, and look forward to you coming in aggressively.
I would probably say, when has Phil not been aggressive? Now, on the other side of the table with the Canadians leading, you have to look at the Americans, and this has got to be a huge disappointment, not only for Jimmy Spithill to be in last place, but be doing on home waters.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could almost say it must be a little bit embarrassing for them. I mean, they were finalists. Remember, they're in the grand final in season 2, and I suppose the one thing that springs to mind is Rome Kirby's out injured, flight controller, one of the big three at the back. We talk about the driver, the wing trimmer and the flight controller, and that choreography, that timing is absolutely crucial. We see here, look, the boat just flying out of control, and Hans Henken's done a good job, but clearly he's not quite filling Rome Kirby's shoes just yet.
The rest of the fleet pulling away from the Americans yesterday, and let's not forget they finished 8th, 9th, and 7th on day number 1, so they've really dug themselves a major hole. Well,
yeah, I mean, we say consistency counts, and that's what they were really good at before, but they were consistently poor yesterday, and let's make no bones about it, they're not unlucky to be in 9th. They thoroughly deserve to be in 9th. They sailed badly. Positive is, Jimmy Spitthill's used to having his back to the wall. He's pulled things around before and he's made changes. They've said, quite honestly, they've made mistakes, and it'll be interesting to hear what they're going to actually do better today, because they definitely need to change things.
See some of the onboard action out there, just not being consistent throughout. And as Jimmy said, lots of mistakes they made. They'll have to clean that up, and looking for a good performance today. Just a short time ago, Stevie Morrison had the chance to speak with none other than Jimmy Spithill.
Hey Jimmy, Stevie here. Just you had a pretty tough day at the office yesterday. Looked pretty hard out on the water. What's going wrong in the team?
Yeah, it was a tough day. Oh, just too many errors, really. It was that simple. We struggled to get off the line and then really execute the first manoeuvre to get out and get clean. So, yeah, quite different conditions though today. So we're definitely, we've learned the lessons from yesterday, but today will be probably a lot more like the training day Friday.
Well, yeah, it's pretty light. You're in front of the home fans, but I mean, it was you know, you are at the bottom of the pile. What is a realistic goal for today to be successful for you?
I think just put together 2 clean races. You know, in some regards, you know, obviously the podium's out of reach, but certainly get as many points as we can and just try and keep the season alive and, yeah, get out there and just execute a couple of good races.
Well, best of luck. Thanks, Jimmy.
Cheers, mate.
Coming up on 5 minutes to go before the start of race number 4. So, Stevie, look into your crystal ball here. On Lake Michigan, your prediction for today?
Wow, I think it's a hard prediction with these big wings. I've said Australia are good on this final day. They've got a big pressure race 4 coming up, but I think if they can get themselves in the final, I'd be really worried if I was the other teams.
All right, for more of a report on the water and the conditions we can expect today, let's go down to Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Despite some nerves from the race management on whether the wind was going to come, it's just pushed in from the southeast in time for today's racing. Winds are averaging around 15 kilometres per hour, and we're seeing gusts up to 22 kilometres per hour. So quite light, but it has filled in across the course, and teams have been foiling around. No problem with those big 29-metre wings. So the course has moved from yesterday, as it has been a bit lighter in size. So let's go over to Stevie to take us through the course map.
Well, it's a light to wind day here, and we've moved outside the harbour, a new racetrack, and this short leg one is going to mean that a good start's going to be absolutely crucial. Get stuck behind and in the turbulent wind from these huge 29-metre wings, and you could struggle to build speed. When they arrive at Mark 1, they'll see Gate 2's looming very large, very quickly, just 750 metres ahead of them. The boats ahead and on the inside will have control of that first decision. Those boats stuck behind are going to already be scratching around for a second option. As we leave Mark 1, we'll see the fleet split, and it's the chance for the crews to choose which side of the course they think will give them the quickest time down to Gate 2. At the bottom of the course, another crucial decision. The crews can turn left or right. We see those skyscrapers in the background, and they could be causing a lighter zone of wind near that gate. So getting in and out of here cleanly is going to be absolutely crucial. The leading boats, well, they can select the best side of the course with more favourable wind, but the boats behind can either follow, which is probably going to be slower, or try and find a different path, avoiding that turbulent wind. Let's remember our boats can't sail straight into the wind, so they're going to sail as close as they can to it at angles of about 45 degrees. Here we are back up at the top of the course now. We're going to head off downwind right now back towards the fans in Chicago there. The race will be 1 or 2 maps longer, and depending on the wind strength, will be aimed to fit between 12 and 16 minutes. Remember to look out for that on the course map today, because in this light wind, 16 minutes could really play as a feature for the crews. Well, what's the key to success? The key to success on this course is going to be leading at Mark 1 and then choosing the side of the course with the most wind and the most space to keep these F50s at full speed. It's Sunday, so there's going to be champagne for someone. One of these crews is bound to be smiling after the racing.
So the pre-start begins now. The loss for the fans not having the racing close to shore is a gain for the sailors, Stevie and Emily, as we go under 2 minutes to go because there is breeze offshore.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of our sport, powered by nature out here, and sometimes nature makes us change our plans. We've had to change today. It's a shame to be away from the shoreline, but brilliant that we've got wind, and it's going to be a great day's racing. Speaking
of brilliant, we've got Nathan Outer as the driver from Team Japan down on the water. Nathan, what is your assessment as we go under 90 seconds now before the start of race 4?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. It's a little bit light out here today. Obviously, that's why we're outside the break wall. We've been watching the teams in the build-up to training here, and they're hitting the foiling manoeuvres maybe 50% of the time in the jibes, and we haven't seen many foiling tacks. They've got the big wings on, and they're all jostling for position right now. It's going to be a game of getting the thing up on the foils and sailing in fresh air. Yesterday, we saw Canada do such a good job getting around Mark 1 in front. I think today the key is this start. If you can get off the start today, you're going to have fresh air for the race and make your life easy.
So under a minute to go, and Nathan Outeridge says get away from the rest of the fleet and get yourself some clean air despite it being a little bit light. So Stevie, as a jockey for position now, where would you like to be if you were driving one of these beautiful F50s?
I think it's going to be hard until we see the line top, but I like at the moment where Great Britain is towards the top of our screen. They're further away from the wind, but that means they will be positioned on the inside for Mark 1 if they can get their timing right for the start. And 35 seconds to go. We can see these big wings. They accelerate the boats quicker. The crews are quite early. To the left of our screen, we can see out the back it's Canada. Now, what are they doing at the moment? They're struggling to get the boat going. I think they're late. Top of the line, it's Denmark with good control. Great Britain at the bottom, but it's all about who can get the boat on the foils with the timing. Left-hand side of screen, here comes New Zealand. How's the timing of Peter Burling? Just 10 seconds to go. He turns the boat down. He will have space at the top of the line. Can the crews get the boats foiling? They're up and running now. Watch for the line to turn white. And it's go now. Race 4 here in Chicago. We go towards Mark 1 and watch these boats build speed. They're all up and foiling. Looks like a good start for the Danish crew of Rockwool. They're going to drive down over the top. It's Denmark and Switzerland drag racing to Mark 1.
The sprint to Mark 1 in race number 4 is on here at Lake Michigan. Spain's in the mix. Great Britain, the Swiss now cutting over, and Denmark with a great start. The Americans are in the mix.
Here we go, going to be tight on the circle there. The Swiss team, Seb Schneider, what a performance, leading at Mark 1, rolling around the outside, these big wings. Well, look at the huge power they generate as they turn downwind. And we heard Seb say, let's go to boundary. Every time you turn the boat, you're going to slow the boat down. In this light wind, it's crucial. Ben Ainsley and his British crew are hanging in on the inside. I don't know how they're not in the turbulent wind at the moment. That's the voice of Seb Schneider you're hearing at the moment. The driver sounds calm for such a new person there. The French have turned early. They're heading away from the fleet, trying to find space. In just 15 kilometers an hour of wind, space and clear wind is going to be key.
And the overall leaders, Canada, who leads by 1 point over Great Britain, had a terrible start, and they made the turn early as well. So Spain, France, and Canada opting for the early turn as we make our way down on leg number 2 of 7.
It's great to see Canada joining the party here. They were late for the start because they went outside of the boundary with just 30 seconds to the start. Not a mistake you want to be making on this final day.
I wonder if Phil Roberts is feeling like he's playing with house money with the lead now. Remember, you need to be in the top 3 after 2 races for the grand final. Only those top 3 will be racing for an opportunity to walk away with this weekend's overall title.
At the moment, it's the French coming in from the top of screen. They have the right of way. Here they come. Great Britain turns to get out. Can the Swiss team cross ahead? It looks very tight as we look at our ladder lines. I think the Swiss are there. Here we go. They look like they've made it. Oh, that was a clean cross on there. Set them up nicely for a left turn. Here we go. They're going to try and sail in space. Will the French spit the course? I think they may just make it to a right turn, but they're going to be slow at the bottom. Tricky for Great Britain as we come into this bottom gate.
So it's the other rookie team making the headlines here in race number 4. Canada owned the headlines yesterday, and right out of the gate, race number 4, the Swiss leading at gate number 2. France in 2nd, Great Britain, New Zealand, Canada, USA in 6th, Denmark, Spain, and Australia at the very bottom.
It just looks light at the bottom of the course here, Todd. They're closer to the city. It is light winds, but the French are foiling 37 kilometers an hour, and out the other side, the Swiss are struggling to do that. There's just 12 kilometers an hour of wind. Don't expect them to stay on the foils in this tack. Silky smooth here at the bottom of the course. It's a real compression in the fleet, and look at the leaderboard to the left there. Australia in 9th. This is a massive race for them if they're to make the final. They have to get a good result. They were 4th overnight, and this will not be good news for them. New Zealand, wow, they're slow at the bottom here. Look at them, 5.8 kilometers an hour.
As you mentioned, the massive wings put on these F-50s, 29
this is the
meters.
umpire's penalty, Spain relative Denmark.
So Spain commits a penalty on space on Denmark. They'll have to drop back. Not a huge loss for them as they go from 8th to 9th. The Americans in 7th. It's still Switzerland out in front. They had a decent day yesterday in the first race, coming out, finishing in 6th place.
Hey, Todd, have a look at the screen right now, though. Who's that looming large in 3rd already? It's Phil Robertson and Canada. Disastrous start. He found some space on the run, managed to limit the number of turns he did, and he's made some big gains.
And here we can see why. His average speed was up at 38.5 kilometers an hour. You know, it's not the fastest speeds we're seeing, but it's faster than all the boats behind. So he's catching up to the Swiss and the French, making his way through the course.
That despite doing 3 maneuvers to Switzerland's 1. So we'll see if the Swiss and Seb Schneider can keep it going on. 2 teams in their rookie voyage here in season 3. The Swiss and the Canadians having a good run here on day number 2. This is race 4. Remember, race 5 coming up, and then the grand final where only the top 3 will duke it out.
Here we go, we're on board there. We can hear more GAA on the back of the boat there, giving that tactical input. I know the Swiss have been really working on that. They're talking about, can they make the mark? That's Seb there, chatting away, only worried about French at the moment.
Looking towards the back of the fleet here, it's important to note that New Zealand are still ahead of Australia, which is key when we're looking at this race to the final. They need to keep ahead of them in order to guard their spot.
So the wind blowing just over 15 kilometers an hour on the surface at Lake Michigan as we send it down to Lisa and Nathan.
The wind definitely has dropped off since the start of the race, but what we're observing out here is there's plenty of wind at the top of the course, but at the bottom of the course near Navy Pier, it's very, very light. Nathan, why are the rookie teams doing well on a lighter day?
I think the big difference is in the lighter winds that you have more time to think about what to do and what's going on, and that's where these new teams like Switzerland are making advantage of this situation where they can just think and process things a bit more. Yesterday it was more hard, fast racing, and small errors make a difference. As we can see right now, they're coming up to the top mark. Just looking at the top gate, you got an option to do a right or a left turn. To me, the left mark looks favoured. It looks like you're travelling less distance, and we'll hand it back to Stevie to talk us through the top mark.
Well, they're already set up on the ley line, Nathan. We can see Switzerland sailing parallel to that mark. That means they can get through the gate with no more turns. But do they want to take that left turn that Nathan talked about? That would mean turning the boat again, and the French are coming in here. They have the right of way. Switzerland turn away from the wind. It's going to be the French having a lead change here. Looks like they're going to be clean round the outside on the foils, going fast. Which side's going to pay? Nathan said left turn would be good. Looks good for the French at the moment.
So France comes around after a terrible day yesterday where they finished 9th, 8th, and 6th on the day, sitting second to last, just one spot ahead of the Americans in the overall. They now sit in first place. Switzerland and Canada rounding out the top 3. And where are the Americans and the Australians and Great Britain? Way down on the ladder.
Sometimes when you get caught in the middle of the fleet, Todd, to find space is really, really hard. And when we look at the Danish crew, they had a brilliant start. One mistake in the jibe, slightly out of position, you get in turbulent wind, and you just can't sail the boat at full speed, and they're stuck. The British crew, well, they found a bit of space up to 4th. That's a good result for them with the overalls as we see it. But for Australia and New Zealand, well, it's turning into a bit of a battle royale in the middle of the fleet here. Can Slingsby get ahead of New Zealand, which is what he needs?
Race yachts. This is the race committee. We are shortening the course. The finish will be at the next windward gate. Finish at the final windward gate. Over.
So there you hear it. The race has been shortened as, to Lisa's point, the wind really dropping off down by Navy Pier.
Well, here we go. We're heading down. We've just got a short sprint down here, and then we've got one final upwind to go. Only now probably 3 or 4 minutes to go, and if the French are nicely lined up for a left turn, which I think they are, then we're in good shape here. Quentin de la Pierre, Kevin Pepinay, they're talking French on the boat, and it all sounds a lot calmer because of it.
And here we see how the French are dominating right now. 78% fly time, that's the highest out of everyone in the fleet, and the fastest speed. If they keep going like this, they're going to extend their lead further and get a race win in.
Still surprised with Canada having a disastrous start. They are in the mix now in 3rd place. They'll get those points, but remember, it's one more leg as the race has been shortened. The wind dropping off at the bottom of the course, so they're going to shorten it down to just 5 legs, and we're on to the 5th and final leg.
Pressure might look better on the other side for the next downwind.
That's it. Georgia thinks she's seen some more wind on the course, and here we go. They're making a last-minute turn to send themselves out. They're going for a left turn. They're not going to follow Switzerland. That'll be because Georgia thinks she's seen more wind that way, more wind, more boat speed. Well, Swiss are going to hope they're wrong.
Great Britain now sitting in 4th place, but it is France out in front, Switzerland in 2nd, Canada in 3rd, Great Britain in 4th, then the Kiwis, the Aussies, and then USA, Spain, and Denmark rounding out the fleet of 9.
New Zealand just about keeping their nose in front. I've left my abacus at home, unfortunately, today, but it looks like Canada and Great Britain could be punching their ticket to the final here with these results. In the pack, though, we can see Australia and New Zealand still heading down to that downwind gate. Australia needs to make something happen now. Here we go, we see top of screen, French up and foiling. They're moving up the course now. These ladder lines show that the French are almost 200 meters ahead here.
And here we see the French have more speed over the Swiss and more wind, most importantly. They've got 50 kilometers an hour of wind on that right-hand side of the course, while the Swiss are in slightly less and so sailing slower.
Giving credit to their skipper, Quentin de la Pierre, who has not had the best weekend so far here in Chicago, but what a nice way to rebound on day number 2, race number 4, and the French with a huge lead over the Swiss and the Canadians.
The French are just sailing away. Advantage of being out in front there. Just 400 meters to go for the French. We're on board there. Quentin de la Pierre, the driver. Kevin Pepinay, a new addition for this season, the wing trimmer there. Olympian in Tokyo in the 470 class, and a real friend of Quentin's. I think they've got a real chemistry. Right. And, well, this is just the right mix at the moment.
No question about it. As France has run away with this race, it has been shortened down to 5 legs as the wind has dropped off. So good news for the French, the Swiss, and the Canadians. And for the rest of fleet. There will be no time to make up, taking 2 legs off the race, which was scheduled for 7. But Australia really having issues. They're back in 8th. They needed to be ahead of New Zealand. And I can't say enough about Canada. With the start that they had, to be in 2nd place, Stevie, that is amazing.
Well, we heard at the bottom of that leg, we saw the little soundbite come up from Georgia there, and she said, we've got to make a change. We've got to take a left turn. They did split directions. They chose a different option. She saw more wind, more power, more speed. And, well, she followed the French, and now they're moving ahead of the Swiss. But can the Swiss find something the last 200-300 meters of this upwind leg? They will have the right of way when they come together.
And in the final meters, it will be France that comes through with the victory. Race number 4, day number 2 in Chicago, and the French take the victory here on Lake Michigan.
Allez les Bleus. What a performance by the French. Great work, good start, great first decision. They were the first to turn away, and they just sailed the boat fast. But Canada, blimey, this is awesome stuff. They're pretty worrying. They've come from near last off the start, up through to 2nd. Unbelievable performance.
And here we can see it. France from 6th to 1st, from the first mark to the finish, and Canada 8th to 2nd. We've just seen the back boats sail through the fleet all the way to the finish. That's so impressive.
And coming up hard here.
They just managed to find a lot of space at the back of the. Sometimes when you're right at the back, it gives yourself some options. To look around, find that space and sail fast. Well, Chris Draper, the wing trimmer, he won in Saint-Tropez with this big wing. We've not seen the 29-meter wing used a lot. When he was part of the Japanese team with our own Nathan Outridge, they won in Saint-Tropez. So it'll be interesting to hear Nathan's thoughts after the race on how Chris works with this big 29-meter wing. And their 5th place. Pretty solid one for New Zealand. I think that's going to leave them looking pretty good on the leaderboard in terms of getting to the final.
So they start crunching the numbers as New Zealand comes in, and that's going to be huge for them, staying ahead of Australia, who's trying to reel in that 3rd and final position to go into the grand final. We've got one more race to go here before that grand final. Denmark will take 6th place, and the Americans coming in 7th.
Tight here. Denmark are entitled to room in there. They are allowed to sneak round in front of the Americans. Wow, Jimmy sending it in there. That's really tight, Jimmy. Strong judgment there. Didn't think there was quite enough room to fit that one in, but he knew better than I. And well, look at that 8th for Spain, but big news. Yep. Australia, defending champions in 9th. This is going to be disastrous on the overall results for Australia, I think.
Big surprise to see the Australians come in last place. They've got one more opportunity to score some big points, but wow, you come down to this 5th race, Stevie, and you almost want to have your position secured in the grand final.
Certainly a lot of pressure on things, and Phil Robertson and Ben Ainsley on board the British boat. I think they're going to find themselves basically guaranteed a place in that final, and well, that's good news for them. They can relax, but I still think it's all about momentum. They're going to love how well they were sailing, and they've got a real opportunity to put down a marker in this 5th race.
All right, so the entire fleet has come across in a shortened race on race number 4 here in Lake Michigan as we take a look at the scores and where they stand with one more race before the grand final. If the grand final was now, it'd be Canada, Great Britain, New Zealand. Denmark out with 6 points back with Australia. So there you see the big battle to get in the top 3, but there is one more race. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, so don't count out Tom Slingsby and the Australians or Denmark at this point. For France, Spain, Switzerland, the USA, they'll have to look to the next event taking place in Plymouth, but it's Canada, Great Britain, New Zealand, your top 3.
The wind has dropped off dramatically.
7 seconds to go. It's all about who can get on the foil. The Australians have the speed. There's the start there. Spittle's done a fantastic job again, but who's going to get on the foils first? It's Australia and Tom Slingsby. They're boosting away towards Mark 1. The camera boat in the way of the Japanese here.
Kidding me, camera boat. Talk to me. Yeah. Reset, okay? Reset. Forward, hold down.
Both boats behind off the foils.
Yes, massive game.
If I'm honest, that camera boat didn't change the outcome of the start. Nathan Outridge might be looking for excuses. I think deep down he knows that there was no way we weren't going to win that start. We're in the controlling position the whole way.
That's a right turn early jibe, but they're off the foils.
Down.
Off the foils here.
They've just entered a patch with no wind. Both holes have dropped into the water. This can be disaster for Tom Slingsby.
Hold the wing speed down, Milky.
When we saw Tom stopped at the top gate where there was no wind, we all had a hope that we could steal a victory here.
At this speed, they're going to close the gap to Australia in no time.
I think there's a bit of pressure coming out of there. Yep, getting the pace on here. Yep.
I remember looking through the wing and I saw the other two teams on their foils coming at us doing 30 knots of boat speed and we're stopped dead. I remember sitting there thinking, what's going on here? This isn't right.
They're all going to have to believe in him, and he has to know that to get them up on the foils.
All good here? Coming good, real quick.
We saw the gust of wind, we saw it coming, and we said, okay, we've just got to position ourselves perfectly here, and we got back on the foils.
And it is Australia that claims the title in 2022.
Go, go, go. Turn.
Back in Chicago for the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier, and the points are getting even tighter as the fans get a chance to get a refreshment, a beverage, as the fleet gets ready for race number 5. And Stevie, at this point, everyone's doing the math to see who's in and who's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, well, we're going to get a good chance to look at that, but right now it was the start of race 4 that was really crucial, and the young Swiss crew absolutely nailed the start here. Brilliant timing, found space with 12 seconds to go, as did New Zealand, but New Zealand just didn't quite have a fast enough angle. And well, I said it was all about a good start. Who'd am I to know? Phil Robertson, left of screen, completely out of the shot, got back to second, and well, great to see the Swiss pulling off a start like that. Absolute perfection. But Phil Robertson shows all options are open.
Well, one thing is certain in SailGP, when the wind is up, the racing is like what you might see at a NASCAR super speedway. 3 to 4 wide into the corners at high speed, and the driver's not wanting to give away an inch of room. But winning in both series many times comes down to what you do before the flag drops or the line goes white, as is the case here at SailGP.
Elite racing, whether on land or water, has one thing in common: the start.
Hey, green flag is in the air.
Look at this. This is seriously NASCAR on water.
At the racetrack, cars line up on the grid with a predetermined starting position, whereas here at SailGP, the race to the start line is a battle in itself.
No room for Contan, the French at the top. The French are trying to barge in. Wow, that was punchy as the line went clear. Penalty on the French boat there.
Move top, you're gonna have to move top.
What we do have in common is getting to turn 1, or in our case, the first mark. This is another area where a race can be won or lost.
Wow, Phil Robertson on Canada. There must have been inches in that moment there.
Whether at the start or finish, on asphalt or the ocean, he who dares wins.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, buddy. Coming down. Down.
Well, right now it is Canada's SailGP that really has everyone's attention as we approach 6 minutes to go before the all-important 5th race, and then the final 3 will be set. Phil Robertson has brought together a group of some really rookies to this style of racing, and he brings them out here on fresh water, imparting his wisdom. And right now, the hottest team in SailGP is Team Canada.
Stevie, at last we can see the new fleet for Season 3. 2 new teams, Canada and Switzerland, and all the usual suspects. There's no doubt they're all going to fight really hard to become the champions at the end of the year. The first race of the day was amazing for Canada's SailGP team. They finished second with a great performance, and now they're fighting it off again with Ben Ainsley for the perfect start.
Okay, love, this is race number 2 now.
It's the start of race 2, and it's Great Britain and Canada fighting it out hard. Look at the top of the screen. It's Ben Ainsley, it's Phil Robertson, and they're fighting to get to Mark 1 first.
They knew we could attack them a bit by making them jibe early on the ley line, and we managed to do that. The breeze shifted a little, which helped us again, and we came into that bottom mark a lot faster than them.
Only 50 metres apart. Freddie, it looks like Georgia's strategy for the Canada SailGP team is really paying off.
Robertson's pounce tight as we come downwind. He's off the foils on the British boat. This is an opportunity for Canada.
And Phil Robertson and the Canadians are on their way to picking up their very first win.
I don't think a new team has ever achieved that on day one of racing in SailGP. What a performance by this team.
Well, it's a beautiful day here in Chicago, Chicago's Skyline Stadium and beautiful Navy Pier. Weather's perfect, wind a little lower than most sailors would like to see, but they will make do as they are the best sailors in the world on these F-50 foiling catamarans. Next event comes up next month. It'll be in Great Britain, in Plymouth at the Great Britain SailGP. We look forward to that, but still business to take care of here as the fans settle in for race number 5. And after that race, we will know who is in the grand final. I want to bring you up to speed. One race has been complete this year. That was the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess. And what a performance it was indeed as we take a look at the scoreboard. One event down, Australia, the two-time reigning and defending champions, in the lead after winning in Bermuda. Great Britain was there, and Canada in that grand final. Denmark, the USA finishing in 5th. Right now, they're wishing they had a 5th here in Chicago because it's not been their weekend. New Zealand, Spain, France, and Switzerland. So you see a lot of parity taking place, and we'll see who will score the big 10 points in the big final and walk away with the top prize here in Chicago. Just moments away from finding out in race number 5. So final preparations being made, and then it'll be on to the pre-start. Remember, the course has been moved farther off to take advantage of better wind out in the middle of Lake Michigan. And there is the course, Stevie. Unfortunate for the fans, it didn't have it right in front of them, but this is much better for the sailors. Maybe it settles some people's nerves too, not being so close to shore.
Well, I think they'll just be glad to be out in what wind there is, but at the moment it does look a little bit lighter to me, so it would be great to find out on the water with Nathan and Lisa what the wind's like in that and what they thought of that previous race. That was Tom Slingsby there, already saying about looking for the wind. He's got his eyes out the boat. 2 minutes 15 to go, but you can see in this light winds, the pre-race jostling has already happened.
So coming up on 2 minutes to go, and I guess the big question, Stevie, is the way Australia has sailed not only Bermuda in the end of last year, but just, do you think it's the freshwater? Do you think they're just out of sorts? Because they looked untouchable in Bermuda.
Well, the one thing we've always said about Tom Slingsby is if there is any chink in that armour, any chink at all, it's in light winds. It's light winds now. He has to win this race to have any hope of getting to the final.
1:40 to go for the start of race number 5. Canada looks to almost be locked up in their spot, as does Great Britain. The battle now is between New Zealand, Australia, and Denmark to get that third and final spot in the grand final.
In order for that to happen, we need the Danish or the Australians to beat the Kiwis by 5 places. So we need, as long as New Zealand comes 6th, they're safe.
All right, interesting to see as we go with 1:14 to go. Nathan, what do you assess Australia and what are their problems?
With Australia, they just tried a little bit too hard. They got a bit desperate in that last upwind, trying to go the opposite direction. It just really didn't pay off for them. But I was talking to Nathan about Chris, who's the wing trimmer on Canada, and he's wing trimmer. Nathan, is Chris their lucky charm?
I think Chris is the real wind whisperer. I think he loves these light winds. He loves that big wing, and we saw how well they sailed through the fleet. But I think today the real race coming up right now is Denmark, Australia, and New Zealand. And New Zealand are in the box seat. This will be the first time they can make the final race, and we're hoping that everyone gets off the start line on the foils and gets going here. We'll hand it over to you guys for the start.
Well, there we go. We see the points are crucial. New Zealand is to the left of the screen. We can see Australia right in the middle of the screen alongside Denmark. Those two are tied together at the moment. And it's, well, as Nathan said, it's about getting on the foils. Great Britain in that familiar position towards the top end of the line as we look at it here. The boats are going to turn down. We can see Australia foiling. Here come New Zealand. They're coming in hot. How's the timing for Burling? He looks, oh, he stuffs the bow. Is that a too big a mistake? He's losing the speed. He's going to go clear. Australia trying to find find a gap. Line goes clear. The three protagonists are fighting at the top end of the line here. Looks like New Zealand have stuffed it. They're going to be blocked out, and it's Canada out of the middle of the line like a bullet out the gun. They're going to be leading at Mark 1, but Tom Slingsby, he's driving over the top of the Danish crew here, and has New Zealand thrown it out the window with that start.
The rich keep getting richer. It's Phil Robertson in Canada almost secured a spot in the grand final. They have the lead as they head into mark number 1. They'll get the whole shot here in race number 5.
Crucial time now in the race. This is the first chance for the boats to choose different directions. Canada will go straight, but New Zealand top of screen. They're blocked by all those other boats. They will not be able to turn until everyone else does. Here we go. First to turn, France and America. That worked well for the French in the last race. Great Britain and Ben Ainsley set up, and it's now going to come down to the accuracy of the manoeuvres. We can see the boats 46 kilometers an hour. 48 kilometers an hour is the safety zone for nailing a foiling manoeuvre. There go Canada. Will they stay on the foils? Barely, but they've done enough to stay up. Let's watch Australia. Can they nail this jibe?
So the opportunity is there for the Australians as they need to get past New Zealand. To Emily's point, the Kiwis need to finish 6th or better, and they should be okay.
Right now, they are right on the edge there. They really need to get back up on the foils. We can see them with one hull in the water. Ideally, we're looking for 32 kilometers an hour of speed on fresh water in order to take off.
Well, the Australians nailed that turn there, stayed on the foils, and in the background we can see New Zealand. They didn't. They're off the foils in 8th, 345 metres behind the Canadians and over 300 metres behind the Australians. This is going to come down to a nip and tuck. Can New Zealand work through the fleet? Can Australia get ahead? Canada are struggling to make it down to the left turn here. They should just about stay ahead of Australia, but Slingsby's going to have a problem with the Canadians blocking their wind. Can he slingshot round the outside?
Tom Slingsby in Australia, the two-time defending champions, the winners of the first event in Bermuda, and it's Canada going around the gate first. Slingsby in Australia right behind him.
I have maxed it. Yeah. Yes, I have maxed.
Here we go. That's the voice of Georgia. She's telling them they've got attack. Slingsby gains the right of way by going around the outside. Good communication on board that Canadian boat, but it's advantage Australia as they foil away. Could be a lead change coming here.
Let's get going.
Big drop off the foil that's there by Canada. It's still down below 20 kilometers an hour. They need to get back up on the foils before the Aussies attack.
Good to see the Stars and Stripes in the mix on this one in race number 5. The Americans currently sitting in 3rd, coming in at just over 41 kilometers an hour, saving their best for last as they go through gate number 2. And New Zealand has all but dropped anchor. They needed this one bad. They're sitting in 7th place, just ahead of Denmark and Switzerland. And so the Danes and the Kiwis really almost throwing this one away.
It's going to be interesting here. We can see the two boats, the two lead boats, not on their foils. The wind is quite light now, but at the moment with New Zealand in 8th, Australia showing us in the lead on the board there. That's a 7-point swing. That would be enough to put them in the final as we speak. Has Slingsby saved his best till last again?
If the Aussies come in first, they're going to have 33 points, and that is going to nudge them, the Kiwis, off of that podium.
And the wind dropping down to under 14 kilometers an hour. Remember, the first race of the day, race number 4, they shortened it down to 5 legs. This is leg 3 of 5, so we could get a message from race management that they're going to do the same thing if the wind continues to drop.
But it looks light on the water at the moment, and we can see the Canadians, they're doing a turn. They can't get up onto the foils. It's really light, just 13, even these big wings. Oh, there we go. Australia are up. They bounce the boat out of the water. Incredible technique there, and we can see Canada struggling to even get one hull out. This is going to be big gains for Australia. They're showing a second at the moment. It won't be showing a second for long. Australia, look at them up and foiling now. Here's the points on the bottom left, Emily.
Yeah, exactly. Just as we were talking about, 33 points for Australia if they hold this first place position.
So it's Canada, Great Britain, and Australia right now racing to the final. That'll be the race coming up next, race number 6, and that'll be the race for the championship here in Chicago. But still work to do at hand now. Leg 3 of 5.
That's the voice of Tom Slingsby. He says he likes where Canada's heading. He talked about pressure. That means wind. You've got to find more wind in this conditions. And at the moment, well, he's up on the foils. He's going to fall off the foils. He's too slow, but he's nearly 100 meters ahead. New Zealand back in 8th place, and as we saw on those results, the points would be tied if the places stay at the moment, but it's the team that does best in the last race in the event of a tie that will do well. New Zealand 9th place, and they're off the foils. Look how slow they are. Surely not another race 5 disaster for this New Zealand crew.
And as Nathan pointed out earlier, New Zealand, with a skipper who's won 2 America's Cup, has yet to be in a SailGP Grand Final.
Didn't think we'd be saying that at this stage, but there you got the 2 options. Up and foiling on board Australia, and look at the extra boat speed. They're going so fast, and they put themselves in a controlling position relative to the Canadians as they set up to turn the boat one more time.
Well, for the fans watching on Navy Pier, I know they'd like to have the action right in front of them, but this is a brilliant move by race management, Stevie, to move it farther offshore to take advantage of this building wind.
Yeah, we need to get out there and have some racing, and that's what we've got, is nip and tuck action.
The Aussies stretching their legs here with 75% fly time and showing 45 kilometers an hour of speed, so much faster than even the Canadians and French straight behind them. As for the boats at the back of the fleet, they need to pick up the pace.
So it's Australia, Canada, France, USA, and Great Britain right now, the top 5 here in race number 5. Only the top 3 teams on points will move into the grand final.
That was the voice of Tom Slingsby just talking about his plan for the next leg. He's trying to minimize the number of times they turn the boat. He's going to turn away from the wind now. Boat's going to accelerate, and they'll head off down.
Okay, turning down here in 2, 1, turning down.
Sounds pretty calm on board that Australian boat at the moment, and there we are at this top gate, the near gate. It's absolutely superb.
Gate number 3, the near gate, one of the 2 rounding gates renamed and branded near in recognition of SailGP's new partner. So Australia stretches their lead. Canada, who had the lead, sit in 2nd. They're the next to come through. Then it's France and the USA. Jimmy Spithill and company saving their best for last. It'd be great to see them finish in the top 3 just for morale purposes.
They are. The French have the right of way on the inside, but I think we'll see Spithill fly around the outside here. He's up and foiling. The French have turned, so they're going to lose speed in that manoeuvre. And sure enough, there go the Americans in 3rd place, but yeah, maybe too little too late for the Americans, but it'll be a nice tonic for the home fans if they can get a 3rd place finish here.
France, meanwhile, coming off, and they are both holes in the water right now as they continue to try to build speed. The wind has been a little bit up and down. Look at the Americans approaching 45 kilometers an hour as they make their way down. This is leg 4, so they'll go down one more time and then back up, and the race will be complete. And right now, it is all Tom Slingsby in Australia as he has stretched his lead to more than 200 meters over Canada.
Slingsby's absolutely doing what he has to do at the moment, and he's got, well, he's really relying on the Danish, funnily enough, at the back of the fleet. We see Denmark just ahead of New Zealand, and we see there's 33 points Australia, 32 New Zealand. Well, New Zealand need to jump to 6th if they're to get into the final. If they finish tied and Australia win the race, it will be Australia, due to the better performance in the last race, that are going to go through to the final.
Canada in 2nd. The USA has now moved up to 3rd place. Switzerland still going upwind, and they are in 9th.
It's worth pointing out the USA have found their wheels again. They had a bit of a shocker yesterday, but they're up and foiling again today. Podium position for this race. Let's see if they can continue it.
That's what I'm telling you guys.
Trying to lighten the mood. There you see CJ Perez next to Jimmy Spithill on board USA SailGP. Talented crew, but as you pointed out, they're missing Rome Kirby because of injury. And here they come, bringing it down on leg 5, and it will be the Australians with a masterful job in race 5. Tom Slingsby and company punch their ticket into the grand final.
Well, he's got an incredible sense of timing, that man, hasn't he?
Unbelievable. It'll be Canada coming in 2nd place, so they've cemented their spot after a tremendous first day on day number 1 here at the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. And for the Americans, Stevie, I like what you said, a little bit of tonic for the soul. It wasn't their weekend, and now they want to do much better in front of the home fans, but a strong finish on this 5th and final race for them.
That's right. On Father's Day, my dad always used to say to me, you're only as good as your last race. So for the Americans, 3rd place in the last race. Not going to be over the moon with the weekend, but something to go away with.
It's still worth keeping an eye on New Zealand, though, because if they move up to 6th, if Spain and Danish have a shocker, they could still take out the Aussies.
Great day for the French. Content de la Pierre there. He's going to be happy. The big grinders, Matty Van Dam looking at us there. Olivier Edlon kneeling down, powerful unit on the handles. And, well, Great Britain it's been a fairly consistent day for them. Certainly not set the world alight, but where are this New Zealand crew?
Yeah.
That's really what the question is. They've got to jump to 6th to find a place in the final. We know Great Britain are going to be there in the final with Canada, but is it going to be Australia or is it going to be New Zealand? I fear time is running out for the Kiwis.
Look at that.
Look at them out the back. That's a lot of distance to hope to catch up on this Spanish boat. It's just not going to happen, Todd.
So Spain and Great Britain will come through in 5th and 6th respectively, and that 6th position, as Emily Nagel pointed out earlier, was the magic number for the Kiwis. They had a good start and then just all the way to the back, and they have just seen their arch nemesis, Australia, move now into that final position.
I had a text message from a friend that's involved with the Canadian team, and he said it was just typically the Australians to scrape in and then do their normal final performance. Well, let's see what happens, but yeah, I've got to hand it to this Australian crew. I mean, that was a terrible race 4, but a great reset. The red mist cleared for Tom Slingsby, and he's put down a perfect performance when it matters. Will he be able to do it again, though?
And unfortunately for New Zealand, it is about a done deal as Denmark will come in and claim 7th place. And so that magic number of 6th position for the Kiwis has come and gone, and they will miss out on points even with Australia. No, actually Australia with that win goes to 33 and New Zealand goes to 32. So it will be Australia, Canada, and Great Britain into that big final. And just like you were saying, wouldn't that be an Australian thing for them to just barely get into the final and then walk away with the title?
Great. Yeah, I mean, it was just a stuff at the start by the Kiwis. They just made a mistake with their timing, stuffed it off the foils, and that split-second error has cost them. It's a mistake, and they just have seemed to make mistakes in this. Look at that. Dejected Burling. Look at him. He can't believe it again. They're just not delivering, Todd.
And Stevie, as we go back and we'll have a look at it again, it seemed like Pete Burling and the Kiwis were more concerned with what Spain was doing and coming hot and protecting their position, and then it cost them, and the race went away from them.
Yeah, I think they'd found their gap at the top of the line, and they were just got their timing wrong. They were certainly in a little bit of a private battle, but certainly pretty disgruntled there. Apologies for the frustration coming out of them on that roundup, but what a disappointing race, because they had it in their hands, and effectively they've just thrown it out.
Well, down on the water, Nathan Outridge, your assessment, the Australians, Nathan, did exactly what they had to do, and they just barely get into the final.
Yeah, well, they haven't made it easy for themselves after that race 4 result, but when the pressure counts, it comes to it, Tom and his team always rise. So I'm really excited to see how this final race is going to unfold. It's the same top 3 that we had in Bermuda.
Yep.
Canada's been dominant all weekend, but is Tom going to come through and steal another victory?
And to Nathan's point, race number 4, let's not forget the Australians, a terrible race, finishing dead last in 9th, and so they knew exactly what they had to do in race number 5. They come out from dead last to the win, and they get in by 1 point. So let's take a look at the scoreboard across the board. 5 races down, and Canada, that's a lot of 1s and 2s, Stevie, across there. They're at 45, Great Britain in 40, and of course, Australia just getting in 30 points.
Yeah, 2 podiums from 2 events for Canada. Brilliant, and what a series. But let's not forget, it comes down to this final race.
So it's Australia, it's Canada, it's Great Britain, and they will battle it out for the title at the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier.
Coming away, 2. Here we go.
The oxygen we breathe comes mostly from ocean algae. The food we eat comes from plants and animals. The clean water we drink hopefully is being cleaned, filtered naturally by a forest. The regulation of the climate, so many other benefits that we get from nature for free. So we are absolutely dependent on a healthy environment. The problem is that we have been abusing our natural world so much that nature cannot keep up with us. When it comes to the ocean, 90% of the large fish in the ocean, sharks, tuna, grouper, cod, are gone. Over 3/4 of the fish stocks are overfished, meaning we are taking them out of the water faster than they can reproduce. So this is what we're doing to the ocean. We're taking too much out. We are throwing in what we don't want and making it warmer and more acidic. So basically, we are destroying our only home. We are unplugging our life support system for short-term gain. That's what we're doing to the ocean. I have hope because I have seen the ability of the ocean to recover, to bounce back, if we just give it space. The sailing community have a huge role to play because sports have the ability to reach more people than anything else on the planet, right? We're all connected on this planet. We all depend on each other's behavior. And the best way for people to understand what we're doing to the planet is to see it. And the best way for people to act is to fall in love again with nature. So sailors, please take as many people as possible into the ocean.
After the racing on day one of the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier, the athletes and teams had the opportunity to pay a visit to the SailGP Adrenaline Lounge to meet and greet some of the guests and local fans who joined thousands of other fans who have eagerly anticipated the arrival of SailGP to the Windy City for the very first time. Well, a great opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the best sailors on the planet. And just a stone's throw away was SailGP's 3.0 exhibition, SailGP's first foray into the world of NFTs. The experience was hosted in downtown Chicago amidst some very iconic buildings and within the race village over the 2 days just off of scenic Lakeshore Drive on the banks of Lake Michigan. Well, after the first event in Bermuda, we can now show you the current standings in the all-important Impact League. And once again, it's New Zealand leading the way and really doing good work while they were in Bermuda to leave a limited carbon footprint at the first event. Denmark sits in second, and the Canadians currently sitting in third. SailGP will help restore native vegetation to the Chicago River as part of its first ever visit to the Windy City for the T-Mobile US Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. Our elite athlete sailors attended the local impact project with the Friends of Chicago River to help the project with some new planting. SailGP support is funding the planting of 5,000 plants over a 2-mile stretch of river, encouraging biodiversity in the water and helping to mitigate climate change. Beautiful shot of the skyline here and the Chicago Skyline Stadium. Tom Slingsby in the final. Look at his number. Olympic gold medal, 10 world championships. SailGP races won. He's 7 of 9. And oh yeah, he's been in a few America's Cup. Also in the final will be Sir Ben Ainslie. 4 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver, 11 world titles. He's got a SailGP title and of course an America's Cup. And Ben Ainslie, I'll tell you what, never count him out. He is maybe one of the smartest sailors on any body of water. And the new kid on the block, not new to SailGP, but new to Team Canada, the new squad. 2 races in a row, and the Canadians are into the grand final again. The 3-time world championship winner, Phil Robertson, will see if he can pull off his magic this time in Chicago.
Well, here we are, the first team, and who do you not want in a final? It's Australia with Tom Slingsby, Carl Langford, Jason Waterhouse. They're serial winners. They called after Bermuda. They were 3-boat final specialists. They're in there by the skin of their teeth, and I can't help thinking this is absolutely the team to beat.
But we've also got Ben Ainslie and his team from Great Britain. This is the team that I would not want to be coming up against. We've got Ian Jensen on the wing, who has so much experience controlling these massive machines. He's going to be crucial in getting that boat up and flying. And of course, we've got the Canadians.
Well, they are the Canadians. Been phenomenal so far, but let's not look. Phil Robertson's been in a few of these finals, and he's really not performed in a grand final. So pressure's perhaps on Phil Robertson here. Won the qualifying series, not delivered in finals. Can he deliver today?
All right, before we get to the grand final, let's check in down on the water with Lisa Darmanin and Nathan Outridge. The question I've got, would you rather be the hottest driver in Phil Robertson, or would you have the guy with momentum in Australia, Lisa?
On Lake Michigan, I think that the Australians are good at winning drag races, but do you think that they're going to be able to crack the formula, Nathan?
Yeah, the formula seems really obvious at the moment. The formula is get to the bottom gate, take the left turn and stay on that right-hand side of the course. There's more wind out on the right-hand side than there is on the left, and the formula has been working. They found the formula in race 5, they nailed the start, and it's all about nailing this start and following the formula around the track.
Well, that means that we want the boats to go away from the city. So those boats that take the left turn at the bottom and head away from the city, you think they're the ones that are going to win the race?
I think so. That's the formula that's been working for the first 2 races today. And for me, it's all about the start. Like I think the formula is obvious and it's about getting off the start line. Australia did really well getting off the start line in Bermuda. Can they do the same thing in the...
4 minutes to go before the start of the final race, and it'll be a repeat of Bermuda. You'll have Great Britain, you'll have Canada, and you'll have the 2-time defending and reigning SailGP champions with Australia. And there is a lot of Canadian flags out in those stands, Stevie. Not too far away from the Canadian border. Right now, the Americans' neighbors to the north are putting quite a show on here on Lake Michigan.
Well, that's right, but we're now at the final, Todd. Second place is only the first loser, and it's all about winning. Phil Robertson, there he is at the back. He's not managed to do that in a final. It's been superb so far. Does he need to change up his strategy? He talks about his aggression. He talks about firing that aggression, but he really, really needs to deliver. Chris Draper's won some of these with the Japanese team. Can he and this crew with Georgia at the back there find the magic ingredient to beat that team there?
And then the Australians come in on race number 4, the first race of today. They finished dead last. You're thinking, oh, they're done, just the magic's run out. And then they come back in race 5 and get the win, and now it's all smiles, Emily, on board for the Flying Roos, and they look to have that confidence back.
They just seem to be on a roll when it comes to qualifying for that final race. But I still think the Canadians could finally pull it out the bag. We've seen them strong in the light winds before. It's light out there today. If they get it up on the foils and use some of that aggression Phil's known for.
And we're forgetting about Sir Ben Ainslie. He's got a little bit of experience sailing around the world. He may be the spoiler in this one. I feel like Tom Slingsby's kind of like, hey, we're just happy that we got into the final, and everyone's focusing about Canada and Phil Robertson. Ben Ainslie's quietly just lurking back there and going, hey, guys, by the way, I do have 4 Olympic gold medals.
I think they know how to win a thing or two. There you go, you see Ian Jensen holding the wing sheet there, and I think a lot of pressure here is going to fall on Ian Jensen and Luke Parkinson. They missed the start. They made a big mistake in the pre-start in Bermuda. Hannah Diamond, the strategist, sat down there. She's going to have a lot to offer as well. However, we're at the final here in Chicago. The big change is 3 boats. There's a lot more space on the race course. It turns into a boat speed race. That means Kyle Langford, Jason Waterhouse can put the boat on the edge. They're going to be able to find clear wind. It turns into a drag race, and that's where these boats are identical. It's only about the skill of the athletes on board the boat, and so far these guys just seem to be the more talented team.
So we'll see how it all plays out in less than minute 40 to go until the start of the race. The rest of the fleet has gone in, and unfortunately they'll have to watch this all play out. 90 seconds to go before the start of the final race here amidst Chicago's Skyline Stadium. Remember, event number 1, Australia won it. They're looking to make it 2 in a row, and Canada, the new kids on the block, looking to pick up their first victory for their outfit. Teams will now get into position as we approach 1 minute to go for the final race. So less than a minute to go, the final race here at the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. Beautiful Chicago Skyline Stadium. It is Australia, it is Canada, it is Great Britain, the same lineup that we had at the first event of the Season 3, the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess.
There you go, 40 seconds to go. The 2 boats, Canada and Great Britain, they're late turning back. It was Australia, the first boat to head towards the start line. 33 seconds to go. How's the timing? Australia and Slingsby makes the first aggressive move. There go the Canadians. seconds, 27 seconds, but they look like they've got themselves stuck out the back at the moment. Control lies with Australia. It's a dive across the front. Aggressive move by Slingsby. Aggressive move by Canada. How's the timing? Middle of the start line's been the place to be so far today. Australia looks well set for this. Here we go. When the line goes white, the race is open. Now it's a timing case here. Watch them come in. Perfect from Australia in the middle of the line, and now it's a blast. Look at the speeds at the top of the mast, 10 kilometres an hour faster. I think it could be Australia first at the mark again. Can Canada hang on the inside? What a masterclass at the start line there.
It's a Father's Day special on Lake Michigan. Australia hits the line perfectly, and look at those speeds as they approach mark number 1.
No overlap, that means Australia are clear ahead. He's judged it perfectly again, and control now with Australia. What do the others do? Ainsley on board Great Britain, well, he turns away. He's looking for more wind. He doesn't just want to follow. He thinks he spotted something to the left-hand side of our screen. Is he going to be right?
Nathan, what are you seeing down on the water?
We're seeing here, it looks like you only need to make one turn to lay the bottom gate. The lay line is where Australia are right now. Ben's going to have to make an extra turn. He's out of sequence with the fleet. It's a really similar setup to what we had in Bermuda. If Australia can get down and make it without doing any more turns and take the favoured left gate, they're going to be in really good shape for this race.
Australia, Canada, Great Britain. This is the final here. Someone's walking away with a title, and this is strangely reminiscent of what we saw in Bermuda with Canada and Great Britain scrapping it out and Australia pulling away. But this time, Phil Robertson is pulled up right behind the Flying Roos. He's not going to let them get away.
Well, it's all about, are they making it for this left turn at the moment? That's crucial here. Has Slingsby got it right?
It looks like he's got it here, and you know what? Canadians are pushing the Aussies hard and fast. They're doing 53 kilometres an hour, trailing behind the Aussies, while the Brits are a little bit slower, just at 53 kilometres an hour.
Okay, that was the voice of Great Britain.
Building here, 45,
Voice of Jason Waterhouse there, talking about building the speed. He thinks there's good wind ahead of him on that boundary, and he's in front, giving the turbulent wind back from Australia, but it's Great Britain. They've split the course, coming to the left-hand side of the racetrack where we are here. They turn the boat now, spin the boat fast through the wind, but Nathan told us he liked where the Australians were, so it should be good news for Australia. And look at the ladder lines. At the moment, over 100 metres ahead. Canada keeping it tight, though.
On a day that we expected very little wind, the Australians are making it work.
Same as always, better pressure top left.
So the Canadians see better pressure top left, and who's that going to suit, Stevie, as they make their way now to the next gate?
Well, right now it's Tom Slingsby in Australia heading to the top left of the course, so he's obviously seen that one as well. Georgia's got them following. At this point in the race, we're early in the race. Keep it tight. Wait for the Australians to make a mistake, but if he's seen the wind, they're up and foiling. No mistakes from the Australians at the moment. On board Australia, it's the car.
Hey, squeezing braces all inside.
Have a little look at this body position here. They're in this low drag position. They save it for the finals. It's super fast, low drag mode. It's Kyle Langford just driving the boat speed there, talking about get the speed up, Tom, keep us fast, and there you go out. They're fast, 100 metres ahead now.
It's all about the communication out there right now between that wing trimmer and the flight controller, keeping it up on the foils, flying consistently with good stability. If they touch down, they're losing huge numbers in distance. Looking at the leg summary from that first leg of the course, we see that the Canadians actually had the fastest speed, but the Australians sailed slightly shorter distance. Both of them doing only one manoeuvre, while the Brits had to do two.
And the lead continues to build here in the grand final. Australia out in front, looking to make it 2 wins in a row. They won in Bermuda, and they are on their way to winning here in Chicago. Just 2 races ago, they finished in dead last. They come back in race 5 to get the win to punch their ticket into the grand final, and now just putting on a clinic.
Okay, we will lay right turn, which is probably good.
Well, that's right. That means he thinks he can get to this next gate with no more manoeuvres. He doesn't need to turn the boat again, and there he is. He's sailing parallel to that yellow line. That's the ley line. That means you can make it now up to gate 3 and do a right turn without needing to turn the boat through the wind again. Great news for the Australians. Canada, they're forced to follow.
And Stevie, the Australians really have full control of this course at this point. So how much is Tom looking at the conditions, and how much is he looking at the guys that are chasing him?
Every time you turn the boat here, Todd, you're going to lose a lot of distance in this light wind, so I think they're really working on keeping it simple. To the top of our screen, that's the side of the course that Nathan said there's more wind. Well, don't get a name like the wind whisperer, Nathan Outridge, without knowing how to spot that kind of stuff. And the Australians, well, they're heading straight back there. And Phil Robertson, he knows that as well. He can't, if he takes a left turn, he's going to lose distance. He's got to follow at this point in time. Looks like he might be settling for defending second place as we're on leg 4 or 5. There's not very far to go now, Todd.
It's a long season and every point counts, and right now no one has been able to crack the formula that Tom Slingsby has put together. Did not look to have great form early on. Remember, on day number 1, they finished 7th. They came back to finish 2nd on the second race, and then they finished in 3rd. So they were sitting right in there. But that stinker on race 4, when they finished dead last, you thought, oh, for sure that's done them in. They come back and win race number 5 just to get into the final, and now look at this.
And here we've got the numbers. Australia at 99% fly time, 2% more than Canada, which might not seem a lot, but it's making the difference.
Someone's going to get a fairly serious talking to for that 1% that's gone out the window, I'd imagine, on board the Australian boat there. Perfect turn. Look at the choreography as they cruise across, and we can see on the flight height here, all the boats are pushing the boat nice and high, but Australia, they're just pushing it higher than the other crews, and we can see there the boat's so high out the water, it's just going faster. Look at the numbers on top of the mast.
We see this consistently from the Australian team. They're typically one of the highest boats out of the water with a slight bow down. That's the front of the boat pointing down slightly more than the other teams. This is faster.
Here we go. Final turn of the final here for the Australians if they get this right.
And it's like rinse and repeat. Australia for the 2nd event a row in season number 3. Australia bringing it home and putting on a masterclass of seamanship out of the water. The final meters on Lake Michigan and the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier goes the way of the Australians. The 2-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
Oh, it's all smiles on board the Australian boat. What a moment.
Canada this time plays it safe. Phil Robertson had a great regatta here in Chicago. They will finish in 2nd place to back up the 3rd they got in Bermuda.
Nice job, guys.
And Great Britain swaps spots with Canada. They finished 2nd in Bermuda. They finished 3rd in Chicago.
Disappointing for Canada to not take the win, but they only had one race where they didn't come podium. That's pretty impressive for a brand new team.
We can confirm that, Tom.
Well, you've got to give credit to Tom Slingsby and crew after race number 4, and it looked like they were all but out. Remember, he said that eventually someone's going to beat us, but it's not going to be in Chicago. They barely get into the grand final by way of a win in race number 5, and in the grand final, they show their stuff as they sail away from Canada and Great Britain to take the title here on Lake Michigan. Well, Stevie, the fans probably wanted to see the Stars and Stripes in that grand final and take the title, but I'll tell you what, you've got to appreciate what Tom Slingsby and crew have done.
I think you want to see the best athletes in the world performing in the big stage, and that's what they've got to see there today. Tom Slingsby and this Australian crew, I mean, there's no doubting it. They are the best in the world. These boats are the same. It's how well you use the boats, and, well, he said with a minute to go he thought the other boats were late. He knew from a minute out he had control of that start, and he nailed it. So, yeah, maybe they would have liked to see the American boat in the final, but absolute masterclass.
And get your camera ready for this Instagram moment as Tom Slingsby and the 2-time defending and reigning SailGP champions are going to do a little bit of a flyby at Navy Pier.
Go a little wave for the crowd there. What a shot that is as they shoot across in front of the fans. That's some view there.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie as the Flying Roos go by, winners of the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. Emily, I've got to ask you, is it just the little things they're doing, like getting down low, or is it just the overall performance they do day in and day out?
I'd say a huge part of it is just the consistency, their communication. It's absolutely brilliant.
So let's take a look as it plays out. Australia now, season 3, they are now on 20 points. 2 events, 2 wins. Canada, 17, tied with Great Britain as they flip-flop their positions in Bermuda. New Zealand just on the outside in 4th, what could have been tied with Denmark. Then it's France tied with the USA in 6th and 7th, and Spain and Switzerland rounding out the top 9. Still looking forward to Nathan Outridge, Japan, getting back out on the water.
And here we've got coming up to Mark 1. Now, the Australians were leading here, leaving the Brits with not a lot of choice of what was happening next. They had to jibe out in order to find different breeze and come up with a plan to get ahead of the Aussies. But this meant they had to do an extra maneuver and fell behind even further.
Well, there you go. Sometimes it's easy to finish ahead when you start ahead, and the Australians have just been a master of that in these final races. Look at that. The space he generates here allows him to start accelerating a few seconds earlier than the other boats. Line goes white, top of the mast, 10 kilometers an hour faster. That was the difference. That bit of boat speed right there got them ahead at Mark 1. Get Australia ahead at Mark 1. It's just a party for them.
So for the second event in a row in season 3, it is Australia SailGP showing their class, the 2-time defending and reigning champions. And once again, the bubbly will flow on board the Australian boat, this time in Lake Michigan. Well, what a performance by the entire fleet, and I'll tell you what, moving the course offshore to give them the best win possible was the best move, and it really paid dividends. As we now go down on board with Australia SailGP, Tom Slingsby.
I've got to just talk to the bow camera.
Tom, we've got to ask you, you love this format, and I'm sure you love Chicago after today's performance.
Yeah, day in 2 halves. We came dead last in the first race and thought our chance of winning, at least making the final, was over, let alone winning. And then we go and win the next race, sneak into the final. Everything played out well. The Kiwis had a bad race. We overtook them and got 3rd. And then last race, we just got around at Mark 1, and that was everything.
Tom, you had said earlier that eventually someone's going to beat you, but today, as you said in race number 4, you guys finished in 9th. Were you just thinking at that point, it was a good run, folks, we'll just look to Plymouth. But you came back. At what point did you guys think to yourselves, we can win this whole thing?
I guess it was probably after the last fleet race where we won that race, and I thought mathematically it was almost impossible for us to make the final race. Honestly, I thought our chance of winning was gone, and let's suck it up. It had to come to an end soon, and it's over, but somehow we turned it around and fortune went our way.
Tom, what do you contribute the consistency to your crew? Because you guys do it well in high winds, and you saw the forecast today for low winds, and you still came out and performed other than race number 4.
Yeah, consistency isn't really, it doesn't feel like a strong point at the moment. When we go out and in the 2 first fleet races, we had a dead last in the first. I was just like, oh, that's not consistent. But as long as we win that last race, I guess we're pretty consistent.
Tom, you said it a minute ago to the start that you felt everyone else looked late. Do you think a lot of these other teams are starting to be a bit psyched out by you in this final, and they're actually making mistakes before the race has even started?
I don't know. I felt like they were pretty good. We were saying we want the boat, the bottom end of the line. We want that pin end, and we just felt like we couldn't get there. They sort of had it locked, and so as soon as I realised we weren't going to get in there, I thought, okay, let's gap off and try to hit the line with more speed. We did that just. Geez, they were tight overlap brakes coming into that mark. It's really tight on Ben and then really tight on Canada, and once we rounded that first mark, we know we're hard to beat.
Tom, we got to let you celebrate this for a little while, but tell us about what it was like racing on Lake Michigan. How big of a difference was it going from the saltwater of Bermuda to the freshwater of Lake Michigan?
Yeah, the first time in freshwater. It's unbelievable here in Chicago. I've been fortunate enough to do some sailing here before, and Lake Michigan's a beautiful place. We've got sun, we've got nice breeze, huge crowd out here. Yeah, I can't wait till we come back. Hopefully we lock this venue in for more seasons to come.
Well, that's now 5 in a row, I think, Tom. So you said you're a bit of a three-boat race specialist. You're coming over to Plymouth now, somewhere near where I live. You won there last year. Is there anyone that you can see stopping you at the minute?
I can see a lot of people stopping us. The result went our way, but I think it's pretty clear to see we're not invincible. Luck went our way a little. The guys performed well under pressure, which I know they will, and we were able to sneak out of that one. But yeah, that one, that's getting too tight for us. But yeah, the other teams, Canada, how good are they going? I think they beat us by about 10 points in the fleet racing for the event. And GBR are looking strong too. And yeah, look, there's a lot of teams that can beat us out there. We've just got to keep doing what we're doing and keep this good run running.
Tom, I know you don't think too far in the advance, and Plymouth is coming up next month, and hopefully in the near future, the return of Nathan Outeridge, the Wind Whisperer, so it'll make things rather sporty going into that Mark 1 when there's 10 boats out there. Have you thought about the prospects of that when you get over to Europe?
Yeah, for sure, having Nathan Outeridge back is a huge asset to SailGP. He's a superstar, especially in the light airs. He's the best sailor in the world in the light airs, it seems. Everyone seems to struggle to keep up with him, and so if we can get him back to SailGP, that's great. Everyone knows we want to compete against the best, and we know we're competing against the best here, but we're missing Nathan, and hopefully he gets back and racing against us soon.
Tom, we appreciate your time. Congratulations once again. We never get tired of talking with you, so go celebrate with your team.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our thanks to Tom Slingsby in Australia SailGP, and it's about to uncork the party here, Stevie, as they are used to doing this. They are pros at popping the champagne.
They do say practice makes perfect, Todd, and these they're really making sure they are the experts at the champagne pop, and well, thoroughly deserved. What a team, really. The 6 of them there are just delivering consistently. Nina Curtis back on board for this event. She was, of course, there in the grand final, stepped out for Bermuda, but come back in seemingly seamlessly. So, some team.
Emily, it's kind of fun to watch them work, isn't it? Because they go from a bad race in race 4 where they were dead last, and Tom even said it, to coming back and winning race 5 and then winning. So they won 2 races in a row and the big one in the grand final.
It just shows how strong they are, both on the water as sailors, but also mentally, being able to bounce back from that, not let it affect them, and just sail the race.
So just moments away, less than moments away, as the bottles now come on board. Lake Michigan and Australia will celebrate. They are the champions, the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier. I know he'd like to be out there. Nathan, your thoughts on Australia as they celebrate?
They're a very impressive team to watch, and I appreciated Tom's kind words there. I'd love to come back and start challenging these guys again, but you know, the focus has to be on Tom and that impressive team. They didn't sail the best all week, and he admitted that, but when it counts, he seems to rise to the occasion. So great to see, and also, a big shout out to the Canadian team. I thought they sailed well all week, and good to see them be a little bit more smart in that race and lock in a second place rather than going for the win. I think that's going to serve them well overseas.
No question about it. Ben Ainsley also give shout out to Great Britain SailGP as they are in the grand final again, this time finishing in 3rd, but they keep pace as they now sit on 17 points, even with Canada for 2nd place. So that celebration ends, and it'll probably continue on well into the late hours. Might even involve some deep dish pizza off Lakeshore Drive as the Australians take the victory here in Chicago. So 2 events down, Stevie, and it is Australia without question the best team out there, but Canada and Great Britain seriously going to be pushing them, and New Zealand with a nice bounce back as well.
Well, it's been standout, same finalists in 2 events, 10 out of 10 perfection from Australia, and you know, it's daunting for the rest of the fleet to really see, can anyone challenge that Australian crew?
Australia, Canada, Great Britain, New Zealand, USA now sitting in 7th place, and they'll look for something big when they get to Plymouth next month at the 3rd stop. All right, let's go back and have a look at the highlights. This was race number 4. This was the race where Australia was terrible in dead last night. France, Emily, would go on to get the victory here. What a start.
It was absolutely brilliant. We had France and Canada come from the back of the fleet all the way to the front to take the win in 2nd place. Super impressive.
And Canada, consistency was their thing all weekend long.
Canada have sailed fantastically, and I think really Tom alluded to the quality of the fleet, and this race really demonstrated how high the standard is in SailGP. Now, they got themselves to the back and they couldn't get through.
France would go on to get the victory in race number 4. It was a little too late for them as they had dug themselves a hole from race day number 1, but a great victory for the French as they come across the line in first. In race number 5, now this was the critical one. Australia needed to finish ahead of New Zealand. New Zealand just needed to be 6th, Emily, and they were into the grand final, and the start for them, terrible.
So close, but they couldn't quite do it, couldn't quite keep up on the foils, and it cost them greatly.
That's right, and it was this was the moment here. Slingsby got himself on the foils. The wind did then drop off, but it was that clinical moment he took advantage. And the New Zealand crew, well, they were stuck in the pack. They were in the turbulent wind. You just can't get up on foil like this. Australia sailed away and made it look pretty easy.
On a 5-leg course, Australia just needed that margin to get the win and a 1-point lead over the Kiwis to get in the final. And this was the grand final. And how about Australia and what Tom said? Came in hot, didn't like the positioning, so he bared away and said, you know what, I'll hit the line at full speed.
Well, he did that. He said we're only just quicker. He was over 10 kilometres an hour quicker when the gun went. This gap here he generated, that split-second decision. The other 2 boats had fought very well positioning, but it was boat speed, boat speed, boat speed. It makes you a tactical genius.
We talk about this being similar to NASCAR, Emily. The start, and Australia nailed it.
If you can be up with speed, clear ahead, you get to sail the race you want to sail. We've seen this time and time again with Australia. Once they're in the lead, they are unstoppable.
Very rarely does Tom Slingsby and Australia SailGP make mistakes, and that is why they are the 2-time defending and reigning champions. And now, as they turn their attention to Plymouth, Stevie, back into ocean water, how do you think they're going to do?
Well, they won there last year, Todd. Don't see any reason to suspect anything different this time.
The Australians will head to here with all kinds of momentum, winning not only in Bermuda, but in Chicago. Whether it's seawater or freshwater, Tom Slingsby and company seem to have the formula down pat, Emily. They turn their attention now as they make the flyby Navy Pier, and it's all on in Plymouth. Different conditions than what we saw in Lake Michigan.
Different conditions, but it's going to be a great race in Plymouth in the UK, and can the great British team take the win there?
So once again, the final results, it's Australia taking the win, Canada finishing in 2nd place, and Great Britain finishing in 3rd. The same 3 teams that we saw battle out on Bermuda do it again on the waters of Lake Michigan here in Chicago. So that will wrap things up for Lisa Darmanin, Nathan Outridge, Stevie Morrison, and Emily Nagel. I'm Todd Harris saying so long. We thank you for watching, and a happy Father's Day to all. Remember, next up, it's the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix from Plymouth. That comes up on the 30th and 31st of July in one of the most iconic venues in all of Europe and Great Britain. So we will see you there. But once again, Australia reigns supreme here on Lake Michigan. They are the champions as they make it 2 in a row here in Season 3. It's Australia, Tom Slingsby on a winning roll as they now turn their attention to the other side of the Atlantic. For our entire SailGP crew, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you in Plymouth.
Race 4 here in Chicago. We go towards Mark 1 and watch these boats build speed.
And the French take the victory here on Lake Michigan.
Looks like New Zealand have stuffed it. They're going to be blocked out.
Will be the Australians with a masterful job in race 5.
Australia in the middle of the line, and now it's a blast. Look at the speeds at the top of the mast.
And the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier goes the way of the Australians.